we've reached the end of this series. Finally. You know how I would end the Iceman series? With a flashback to Bobby's first and only boyfriend who he almost got killed 3 times. What's with this weird flashback? This literally has nothing to do with the rest of the comic. Nothing at all. It's just there. Because, well, think about it. Yep, there's no way to work in Bobby's sexuality in the final fight, so it's shoehorned in at the beginning, and it's so awkward, like Bobby saying to My First Booty, "I'm glad to be here with you, Judah. Here at the end of all things." I thought I was reading Noah's farce, not Lord of the Rings. Then it's made more awkward because we suddenly cut back to Sinister trying to snatch Iceman's cold bod. And I was right, it was just an ice golem, not the real Iceman. But what kind of transition was that? There's no connection between the scenes, there's nothing even happening between Sinister and Iceman that even plays off the "No thank you ma'am" opening. Then we cut back to the parade, cause that's how we're doing segues. And we get the scene where Sinister's henchmen, dressed like cops, get ready to attack the parade goers. Nightcrawler bamps in, and these guys are just smiling. I'm like, you know he stinks, right? Like, y'all mouths are open, just wide open, and all that bamf is just going right in. That's gotta be nasty. Then Nightcrawler bamps out, and one of the guys goes, "Stinky mutt's gone." Thank God it's not just me. Nightcrawler is my favorite X-Man, but let's be real, you gonna need to come at him with some Febreze like a gunslinger. I mean, he's covered in fur, that smell's not coming out easy. Can you imagine what happens when someone new joins the team? They walk in the room and they're like, "Oh my god, who for..." Oh, sorry. That's actually how Nightcrawler takes people down when he teleports. They're not confused from all the jumps. They're delusional from that smell. Like spoiled bacon bits, crotch funk, and banana bread. You know, now that I think about it, maybe Marvel should have made Wolverine gay, cause that's the only way he'd stay in the room with Kurt. If he was straight, like every time Kurt popped into the room, Logan would be like, "You know what, I'm gonna go and sniff Storm's soiled period panties rolled in sweat socks for a while." Anyway, Maiden and the Morlocks pop up and attack Sinister's men. Bishop had gone to get them in the previous issue and set up an actual plan because half-assed Iceman is too stupid to actually plan anything. So they start fighting, and then we get to Emma and her murderer brother Christian. Emma wants to join the fight, and so does Christian because he wants to use his powers, quote, without feeling shame. So let's pause here and recap, and I'll let Emma do it for us. She says, "Dear brother, I cleaned up the murder of your father for you. I've been taking your recovery exactly at your pace. At this stage of your journey, I have a say in what you can and cannot do." That's right, Christian murdered his father using his mutant powers, and Emma's been training him while covering up the murder, a crime Iceman knows about, but also hasn't reported. Classy hero. I'm still confused about Christian's character because there's really nothing redeemable about him. He didn't kill his father in self-defense, he just killed him, and then psionically replaced him. He's not really sympathetic, but the way he's presented in the story is as if we are supposed to sympathize with him. No. He's treating people like they're his dad, just calling them names, beating the hell out of them like he's getting back at his daddy. And while we're here, who the fuck is this again? What's her name? Shade. I think it's Shade, who somehow knows who Emma Frost is and says, and you really need to look at the screen so you can see I'm not making this up. She, Z, they, whatever, says, "Don't mind me, I'm just throwing shade, Henny." That's Henny. Henny. Don't worry, I don't know what the fuck it means either. So now we're putting drag queens in X-Men books, because that's exactly what you're buying X-Men for. Moving on. While this is happening, a pretty cool fight between Sinister and Iceman goes down. The dialogue is hit or miss, but the artwork is fun. It's a pretty good fight actually, and had there been more of this in the series, probably would have liked it. Iceman proves he's a badass by turning into a giant monster angel, flying Sinister into the air and throwing him into the upper atmosphere. That won't kill Sinister, but it will mess up his day. Then Iceman uses his powers to free the enslaved Morlocks from Sinister's control. The whole thing wraps up with a chat with Kitty Pryde about Bobby not asking her for help. It's a stumbling ending because we never see any real closeness between these two in the series. Bobby's been an ass the whole time, so the idea of him being concerned about someone else is surprising. And that's it. That's the end. Wait, what's this? Why is Gandalf in this? Oh dear. Just fist bump and bounce. Or say see you later. Don't do this fist bump, leave, and then come back and be like, later, dude. So this thing is tying into another X-Men event because we know all you true believers can't wait for the 69th Marvel event in the last decade. Yeah, I'm not getting that one. I'm done with the events, and I'm happy to be done with this miniseries. I'll give Scenic Grace some credit. There are some memorable moments here, but mostly for the wrong reasons. Iceman character continues to get worse, making it seem like Grace was intentionally making him an unlikable asshole while most of the other characters were normal. The Sinister angle actually makes sense. Bobby is one of the most powerful mutants alive. Sinister would be interested in him, but the plot really never made any sense. And it makes the whole thing with Emma Frost and her brother even more of a weird tangent. What the miniseries lacks is a clear focus, specifically developing Iceman's character and his attitude about his powers, which he's supposed to be mastering. Had that been the focus, it'd have given a more plausible reason for Sinister to seek him out. What's interesting is that outside of reviewers like me, I don't see anyone else talking about this book. It's completely dropped off the SJW radar, almost like they don't read comics. Imagine that. The thing that we've been saying all this time turns out to be true. They're not interested in this. So this book that was rebooted because somebody complained about not having the book around turned out to be a waste of time. Because none of them bought the book. None of them are talking about it. None of them seem interested. And I'm sure when the trade comes out, Marvel is going to claim everybody and their mama is tripping over themselves to buy it. But I don't think that's actually happening. Nobody wants this thing. The only people who've probably read it are the people who are reviewing it on YouTube. That's it. And that's because this thing was a chore to read. It wasn't very entertaining, wasn't very fun, didn't give us any new insights into the character. But it was a good exercise in seeing why these types of stories don't work well. You can break down the SJW model right to the core and see everything that doesn't work. Every time Scenic Grace started to make headway, he kept going right back to the same silly tropes, making it about the character's sexuality when it had nothing to do with the story, failing to tie in Iceman's sexuality into the universe so it makes sense to see him doing what he's doing. All you had to do was make one of his boyfriends a mutant. Pick a mutant that's gay and have him date that guy. Hell, you could have used Daken. He's bisexual, that would have worked well, and then you could have tied this in with the Sinister stuff. Daken could have been working with Sinister. That was probably what Scenic Grace intended to do, but he set it up so poorly you'd never fucking know. Hopefully someone at Marvel will learn from this and at least try to tell an interesting story with this character. What? Stop laughing. It could happen. Yeah. And monkeys could fly out of my butt.